Central New York's Thursday morning news. Chris Barnes in for Joe Galuski here on FM News Radio 106.9 and 570 WSYR. Well, Carmelo Anthony, the former SU star and just one of the biggest faves still here in Central New York, made his highly anticipated New York Knicks debut last night after that trade from the Denver Nuggets.
At forward, at 6'8" from Syracuse, number 7, Carmelo Anthony!
His first introduction as a Knick, and we love firsts, especially sports heads love fabulous firsts. So here he is scoring his first points as a Knick. It came early in the first quarter last night after a rather strong offensive rebound.
Phillips to Stoudemire. Stoudemire from outside. Anthony the rebound. Delfino thought he got pushed. And there's the first bucket in his Knick career.
That sound thanks to MSG Nets Network. Carmelo Anthony ending up with 27 points in the game. He had 10 rebounds. He led the Knicks past Milwaukee 114-108. And after the game, Melo was asked by the reporters in what really was his first big post-game interview since going aboard the Knicks. They asked him whether he'll be able to stand the pressure of playing in the Big Apple.
It takes a certain kind of person to deal with New York City, and me being born here, me having my roots is from here. I done been through so much in my short career so far. So for me to deal with you guys on a daily basis, I think it's easy on my behalf.
That's Carmelo Anthony last night. Local fave making good in New York City and leading the Knicks to a victory. I think it was their third straight, as a matter of fact. And we now come up on 8:46. We are running this ship tight as I don't know what. Because here's where we're supposed to check news with Nia Carter, and here she is. Nia, what's coming up at 9?
Well, the next crackdown on distracted driving starts in April in Central New York. That's when patrols will be out on the road in full force. But later this morning, major initiative is being announced by police and the sheriff's departments all over Onondaga County, a crackdown on distracted driving. The filibuster might be winding down on that bill to end collective bargaining for Wisconsin state employees, but a senator says all 14 Senate Democrats remain out of the state and out of the reach of police. And a witness says a Libyan army unit loyal to Muammar Gaddafi has attacked anti-government protesters holed up in a mosque. And it could be tomorrow before a commercial vessel with hundreds of Americans aboard can leave Libya. Rough seas have prevented it from leaving a port in Tripoli. These stories and more coming up at 9 o'clock on News Radio 106.9 and 570 WSYR.
Don't be sorry, you were absolutely right. 9 o'clock. Next news before Glenn Beck. Just like every morning. Whether Joe is here or not, all the other elements still fall into place. I'm Chris Barnes in for Joe today on FM News Radio 106.9 and 570 WSYR. We've got a chat coming up with a new D.C.-based civil rights attorney going to weigh in on the Obama administration's change of stance concerning the Defense of Marriage Act. That'll be coming up shortly. Also, we'll be checking traffic and weather on the 10s here on FM News Radio 106.9 and 570 WSYR.
Hello, Syracuse. DA here for Romano Ford.
Film box office at 361 Show to get your tickets today.
It's 8:50 on a Thursday morning here, Central New York's Thursday morning news. And we check traffic and weather on the 10s every morning and afternoon. It's AM right now. That means time for Kathy Denman.
Traffic's moving well for you into downtown. 690, 81 interchanges have thinned out, been lighter than usual all morning, so no delays moving on through. And your downtown exits have also thinned out for you, so we're up to speed as you make your way off into downtown. You're going to find your major routes, secondary routes clear and dry, traffic moving well for you. Now in Nedrow, Route 11A, between Hemlock Road and Route 11, still blocked due to an earlier structure fire, but traffic's thinned out through there, so no delays moving around that. It's not going to slow you down too much. We do have work crews on the thruway westbound between 81 and Electronics Parkway, exits 36 and 37. You're down to one lane for a short stretch, minor slowdowns. Next update at 9 a.m. in the WSYR Price Chopper Traffic Center. I'm Kathy Denman.
The National Weather Service has issued a winter storm watch starting late tonight, continuing through tomorrow afternoon. And this is going to be a heavy, wet snow because we'll be very close to the rain-snow line. Today, mostly cloudy with scattered rain and snow showers this afternoon, a high of 38. We'll still be seeing areas of rain and snow this evening, but all of us should go to snow overnight and 1 to 3 inches at first with a low of 30. But the snow continues tomorrow, tapering off late in the day. We'll add another 4 to 7 inches tomorrow, so the total from this storm, 5 to 10 inches. Tomorrow's high 32. Nick Wilchin on Central New York's weather station, FM News Radio 106.9 and 570 WSYR.
24 degrees in downtown Syracuse, 8:51 on the weather station, FM News Radio 106.9 and 570 WSYR. Chris Barnes in for Joe Galuski, and also in for Jim Donovan, because he started the show this morning, and somehow I've inherited it, at least a little bit of it. Earlier at 8:30, we heard in Nia Carter's news about the latest from the Obama administration concerning its stance on, something that affects overall the issue of gay marriage. A court challenge to the Defense of Marriage Act has led to reports the Obama administration is not going to want to defend that law in court any longer. And to discuss some of the implications of this and try to get through all the legalese and tell us what it all means, Washington, D.C.-based civil rights attorney Seth Berenswig. Seth, good to join you with. Glad you're joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Okay, now tell me a little bit about the development of this change in policy at the White House, or was this latest court challenge that led to this just the first opportunity for the Obama administration to really take a stand on this?
Well, it's interesting because the Obama administration has been taking a stand on this for the last 2 years or so, because they have been representing the government. The Justice Department is the government's lawyers, and they have been supporting this 15-year-old statute, the Defense of Marriage Act, the 1996 law that bars federal recognition of same-sex marriages. However, there was a new development in New York where a woman by the name of Edith Windsor sued the United States for trying to get same tax treatment for some estate issues for her domestic partner, asking for legal recognition of a marriage that happened earlier in Canada. And to make a long story short, in this instance, the administration looked at this one case and said, you know what, we're going to make a determination internally here that this is unconstitutional, that it should be subject to what's called strict scrutiny, and therefore just made an announcement yesterday out of the blue that they are now instructing their government attorneys throughout the United States to pull support for this statute, and therefore really leaving Congress on its own to defend the law.
Really? So in other words, they're not saying take it on a case-by-case basis, or look for extenuating circumstances, or enforce it loosely. They're saying total change in direction here?
That's exactly right, despite the fact that in several cases they took exactly the opposite position. But when they looked at this case in New York, they made a determination internally that they want to reach the conclusion that it should be subject to a different kind of judicial review, which is called strict scrutiny. And not to get too lost in the legal weeds here, but what it basically does is it just creates a presumption that it's unconstitutional. And now, overnight, there's been a huge change in this because the administration is not supporting the statute. It's stepping away from all of these cases, and there have already been legal actions overnight to recognize the change in this. There's already been a filing in a California appellate court regarding Proposition 8 to try to reinstate the rights of nearly 20,000 gay couples for marriage in California.
Well, knowing the president's personal stand on the issue, and also knowing the general feeling of Democrats and liberals on these types of issues. I mean, was the White House reluctantly defending the Defense of Marriage Act up till now, or was it doing? I mean, I'm trying to still get at the bottom of where they did really stand and what this change really amounts to.
Yeah, I think you're right, because the president had made no secret over the last couple of years, both as a candidate and then as the president, that he didn't like the statute, he didn't like the act. He made no secret to the fact that he was not in favor of it. But he's constitutionally bound to support the laws of the United States and to enforce that as the executive branch. However, given this new development in this case in Manhattan, he did an about-face on that yesterday and said, you know what, I'm going to back away from that. I've always had a distaste for the law, but now we're not going to support it. And he had the Attorney General send a letter to the Congress making an announcement that if they want to defend it, that they can do it on their own.
And what do you think the implications are going to be? Are they going to do it on their own?
Well, I think that they'll have to, and the implications will be huge. Within a half a day, there was already a lot of activity. There was the filing in California for the overturning of the Proposition 8 situation to reinstitute gay couples' marriage rights for nearly 20,000 couples in California. The Maryland legislature late yesterday in one of the chambers gave approval for a preliminary draft of a marriage rights bill. So this really is going to mark a major change throughout the United States.
And political implications for the president.
Well, that's a great question. I think that the Republicans will certainly seize on this as an opportunity, and one of the things that they'll probably say is, look, we have a lot going on in the world right now. Why latch on to this? Is it supposed to be a distraction for what's going on with the labor issues in Wisconsin and other states? Why the timing when the president has been against this for the last 2 years? So there really does raise some interesting questions.
Well, we'll be watching it closely, and we'll be talking to you again. Thanks so much.
My pleasure.
Civil rights attorney Seth Barneswig talking to us from down in D.C. Nia Carter's going to be talking to us from right here where I'm standing. I'm getting out of here. Chris Barnes, been fun filling in for Joe Galuski. I'll catch you tomorrow in the news chair on FM News Radio 106.9 and 570 WSYR.